Okay, so we're going to talk about rotations and rotating shapes. Okay, the first thing I want you to talk about is we're actually going to section everything off, just like we just talked about. This first quadrant, okay, and I'm going to highlight it, okay? We'll call this the yellow quadrant. This quadrant, this is where all of our coordinates are positive, right? The x value is positive and the y value is positive. We call that quadrant 1, okay? To the left of it, I'm going to highlight that guy in green. He's going to be known as quadrant 2. Now, can you tell me, are the x values positive or negative in quadrant 2?
Negative.
That's right. And what about the y values?
Positive.
That's right. Good. Underneath that, we're going to call quadrant 3. I'm going to highlight that in blue. And x and y values, what are they?
Negative and negative.
That's right. The x is negative and the y is negative in that quadrant. Okay? And that leaves us with quadrant number 4. I use Roman numerals. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Quadrant number 4. And what are the x and y values in this guy?
Positive and negative.
Excellent. That's right. X is positive. Whoopsie. X is a positive and y is a negative. Good. Excellent. Now, we're going to start right here. This will be our starting point. Okay? So in other words, we've moved nothing, 0 degrees if we start here. Moving from the first quadrant to here, this is a 90-degree move. Okay? So think of that. And instead of actually using a protractor, what we're going to do is rotating a page. So if I turn this page, okay, and notice how the whole page has turned into a new quadrant. That's a 90-degree rotation. Okay? That's what 90 degrees would be considered. All the way over here, 90 plus another 90 is 180 degrees. So that would be the same as getting this and turning it once and then a second time. And notice everything's almost flipped upside down here. Okay? That would be a 90-degree rotation. Towards the bottom would be how many turns?
Oh, 3.
That'd be 3 turns. Okay, so we're going to call this 1 turn. 180 is 2 turns. 270 is 3 turns. Okay, and you know how to do that, right? We turn it 1, 2, 3. We end up here, right? And remember, all of these are right now counterclockwise rotations we're talking about. And you would just turn it the other way for the others, right? Counterclockwise. And finally, what would 90 plus 270 be? Do you know? For 4 turns? Do you know how many degrees are in a circle? Or like going in a full circle?
360.
That's right. This would be considered 360 degrees. In other words, going back right to where we started. 1, 2, 3, and 4 turns. Hey, we're right back where we started. Okay? So that's how we're going to rotate the page going through this. Now we have this here. They've given us this shape, and they've asked us to rotate it. Let's see what the first one says. They've asked us to reflect it. We're not going to focus on reflection. So let's do rotation of
180 degrees clockwise.
around the origin. All of those rotations I showed you must be around the origin. Okay? If it's some other way, we can't do it the way we're speaking of. So 180, which direction?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. Which way is clockwise?
To the right.
So turning it like this?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. This is our clockwise, CW. Okay, so turning it like this. And counterclockwise would be the other way. Now, what I'm going to do is make sure you're drawn on your paper, because I'm going to skip to this page here. This is the same thing. I know there's that blue thing up there, but don't worry about that. What we're going to do is we have to turn it 280. Well, how many turns is 280 degrees?
280?
Yeah. Sorry, not 280. 180 degree turn clockwise.
2.
That's right. That's 2 turns. We just talked about that. It's going to be 2 turns. Now, what I mean by 2 turns is, again, remember, this is our quadrant 1, right? Quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay? I want you to memorize things. For instance, the very first guy. I'm going to do this B here. Okay? What's the coordinate of our B? He's at
1 and 5.
1 and 5. Okay? Very important. Remember that. Our x and our y is 1 and 5. When I rotate this, my x and y is going to change every time. but the x and y value will still be 1 of 5. And what I mean by that is I'm going to turn this. That's one turn. And see that yellow spot?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be where my 1 and 5 is. It's shifted a little. 2 turns. This is 180 degrees. Well, look at that. That's exactly where, even though the numbers are upside down, this is 1 and that's 5. So that's where the new b should be. Okay? Okay? Let's turn it back. Okay? And he's right where the old guy should be. What about our c coordinate? C, what are the values of c?
4 and negative 3.
4 and negative 3. Okay, I'm going to highlight him too. We're going to turn them. 4 and negative 3. Well, as I turn the page 180 degrees, that's where it should be. That's my 4 and negative 3 right there, right? If you notice, we've gone over 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 1, 2. Oh, what happened there? 1, 2. Oh, he kind of moved when we rotated. I guess it wasn't a perfect picture, but that's okay. So, because that wasn't a perfect picture, this is a good example. I got to erase this because that's not where it is. It's actually going to be at, what did we say? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and negative 3. So he's going to be down here when we rotate it, okay? So the rotated one will be our answer in the end. So it doesn't, this picture, because it's not exactly square around the origin, isn't going perfectly, but that's okay. The coordinates are more important, okay? So that's roughly where he was. See how it's a little off?
Yeah.
That's fine. It's the coordinates that are important. And let's do the other two quickly. A is what coordinate?
Negative 5 and 2.
Negative 4 and?
Oh, sorry, with the A part.
Yeah.
Negative 4 and 1.
1, good. And what's the D?
Negative 2 and negative 3.
Excellent. Well, we're going to rotate this page. 1, 2, rotations. And let's talk about what those points are. Well, A is where? Negative 4 and 1, so I got to go back. I got to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be negative 4, right? And up 1. So that point's going to be there, and we'll put it in purple. So this point's going to be here. And our green one, what was its coordinate?
Negative 2 and negative 3.
Okay, so we go back 1, 2, and go down 1, 2, 3. What color was he? Green? There he is. So let's change the color to this. Should we do it dotted lines? Would that be easier if they're dotted?
Yes.
Or would color be? Let's dot it and color. Ooh, we're special here. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take a quick picture of this so that we can spin it all the way back to where it was before. So I'm just going to do that. And this is why I didn't rotate perfectly on the last one.
On my test, I can't rotate it.
You can't spin a page?
Well,
Sure you can.
it's
Right? Because now let's go back to where, excuse me, entire page. That's how it started. And the red one is our new rotation. Well, for sure we can rotate a page when we go through it. There's nothing wrong with doing what we just did there.
yeah.
Okay? So we don't actually need a protractor to solve this. As long as we know how many turns 90 is, how many turns 180 is, 270, and 360, we can spin pages all we want. All we got to do is always memorize our original coordinates, right? And that's what we did. We memorized our B, our C, our D, and our A. Then we rotated our page. That's our second step. And after we rotated the page, we redrew the coordinates. And see what happened? We ended up with what would be 180 degrees spun around.